Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bola Bola Show. We are currently now in episode 4 of our World Cup series as we're counting down to the 2026 World Cup coming this summer. And today's episode is, of course, France 98. Before that, welcome back, Elwin. We missed you for USA 94.
Yeah, man.
So glad you can join us.
It
And
was an awesome episode.
yeah, so why don't you
It's
bring
really
in
nice.
our special guest here, we had to call him back for this episode simply
Yeah, because
because, he's dressed to kill today. We know that for
he's
a fact.
dressed to kill and, he left a lasting impression in USA 94. So welcoming him back to France 98. Encik Rizal Hashim.
Thank you,
Welcome,
thank
sir.
you, thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Oh, merci
Merci
beaucoup.
beaucoup.
Merci
Bagus, bagus,
beaucoup.
bagus.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. Okay, see you.
Terima kasih banyak-banyak.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, let's start a bit with yourself, Rizal. Okay, of course, in the previous episode, we got to know about you from your more like a professional background. But how did actually you became a supporter of Les Bleu?
Actually, it started way back in 1978.
Oh, okay.
If you guys are old enough to know lah,
None of us were born.
belum lahir ya.
Baru lahir.
78, I had it was a coffee table book. Basically, it was a hardcover on European soccer.
Oh.
So I remember there was a huge picture of Max Bossis, the French defender, about to challenge Franco Causio.
Okay.
But that picture was taken during the 1978 World Cup in where lah, Argentina.
Yes.
Okay. So because of that powerful image, one thing I like most was the French were wearing a nice white jersey,
Oh.
So with that famous the insignia, the Le Coq lah,
Yeah, Lecoq.
So and in España 82, I got the opportunity to support them from afar lah, from by watching TV. So I was really attracted by the way they were playing the game. Their version to me was basically champagne football. Due to the presence of Michel Platini, Alain Giresse, Jean Tigana, the likes of also Manuel Amoros. I remember always selecting Amoros as one of my favorite defenders. He was equally at home as a right back or left back. So after that, and the disappointment of losing to the Germans in the semifinals, and I cried. And then my love affair with Le Bleu began lah. That was in 1982 lah.
So when the tears flew out already, that was it lah. This
That was it lah.
For life lah, for life.
Yes, I became obsessed with the French lah,
So let's start with of course, we are setting the stage for France 98 going into this World Cup. I'm going to start out with you, Rizal, because France being the host, and this is like, it's hard to believe this is going to be their first World Cup in 12 years. They missed back-to-back World Cup. What was your feeling, expectation going into this tournament?
I did not expect them to win, actually. Because going into the tournament, the team and especially the coach, Ami Jacquet, came under fierce criticism, especially from L'Equipe, the most influential newspaper in France. And of course, at that point of time, the Brazilians were considered the favorites. And also not forgetting Argentina with the likes of Veron, Ortega, Batistuta. They had an incredible generation at that point of time. But having followed the French from the moment Jacquet took over in 1994 from Gerard Houllier, I was quite optimistic that they would at least do some justice lah, as the host, and the aura of Michel Platini as the chairman of the organizing committee at that time, I think provided a sense of optimism to the French as well. And well, eventually they became champions, but much to my surprise, because the way, everyone knew how the final unfolded with the mysterious illness that befell Ronaldo. But it was a pleasant surprise for the French to finally lift the cup before their home crowd.
What about you guys? Going to this tournament, obviously a lot of expectation on Brazil surreal, right, Elwin? Considering
Yeah,
the
I
fact that
mean,
in that 4 years, a new star emerged on the global stage.
yeah, actually, in USA '94 he was already there, right? But he didn't play a minute, a single minute. But phenomenon, he was on fire coming in as a 21-year-old, and to me, I mean, when you have, and I think I mentioned to you guys also a few times, the ultimate striker one-on-one when you have it, a goalkeeper is you want to have him. And the
Mm.
Ronaldo back in that time was the Ronaldo lah. Until today, for me, he's still the Ronaldo, right? The ultimate Ronaldo. So
Really,
yeah, so basically, with him, in the team, and the there was this huge, I would say, expectation on this Brazil team to really, go all the way in this World Cup. So a lot of expectation from the fans and also the media. They're coming in with all this with the players that they have in their squad as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo spearheading it, of course.
Okay, Bala, what about Italy, man? I mean, they were runners-up 4 years earlier. I mean, even if you look at the squad, you had the return of Roberto Baggio, you still had
Baggio,
Inzaghi, Del
yeah.
Piero, I don't think so, Totti was there, Christian Vieri and all that.
Yes,
I mean, what a team was that?
Manucci.
Was there an expectation from
I
them?
think that was another golden generation. But if you realize in '98, right, I think
Mm-hmm.
basically all the first were equal or even better off, except for Brazil having a slightly better age.
Mm-hmm.
But I was particularly looking for Scotland. Reason being because one of my favorite defenders is Colin Henry, who's a player for Blackburn, was against Ronaldo. So for me, it's another, chances of Blackburn going Champions League is very difficult. So I was looking for this kind of rivalry kind of thing, where you see what do you call that, the unknown or a less guy meeting the giant. I think that's an interesting tournament. To be frank.
Well, as for me, of course, Argentina was definitely on the agenda. This is the first World Cup whereby it was quite obvious that there is no longer the Diego Maradona effect, basically. This is going to be that first World Cup that I'm going to see the team without him. And knowing the fact that there's a manager who was a former World Cup champion himself, Daniel Passarella. And when he came in on board, he was really gung-ho, trying to get rid of all the bad stuff away from the team. He banned earrings, homosexuals, long hair, you just name it. I mean, he was basically deploying the military junta rule that existed during his time when he won the World Cup into the team. And I think Batistuta was out of the picture for a few years, maybe in and out. But of course, the likes of Hernan Crespo, Claudio Lopez came in and were spearheading the attack. Now let's talk about the overall tournament, guys. I mean, this is the first World Cup whereby it's going to be a 32 nation. So Rizal, do you think that, of course, every time when the World Cup expands, there's always going to be a kickback, whether is it going to dilute the competition? But what's your overall take on it?
I thought that was a real shift in policy by FIFA, which transformed the World Cup into a true spectacle. From 24 to 32 teams. If you remember, in '78 there were only 16 teams, right?
Yep.
Argentina winning the cup with 16 teams competing in the finals. So France '98, FIFA were able to introduce 8 groups of 4, with the top 2 teams advancing from each group, right? And also it meant 64 matches instead of 52, like the previous one. So I basically it avoided the confusion of having to determine the
Top three.
last 8
Top three.
teams, right?
Yeah.
Remember 82,
Top three, I
they
think.
had to wait for the third place best
The
team.
third place,
Yeah.
those third place teams.
So to me it was a major victory for FIFA and the football world in general. So no more best third place teams, and so it became cleaner. A team were able to progress. 16 teams from the group stage, and then the round of 16, and then the quarterfinals. So eventually the eventual champions or the finalists would be playing 7 matches in order to, advance to the final. So to me, it also provided an opportunity for less heralded teams to create an impression lah. So I guess France '98 would be remembered as a landmark edition of the World Cup.
But then don't forget, this year World Cup, they started back again with the third best.
I mean,
team.
they increased the teams, but they went back.
Because now 48 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it got complicated again.
Yeah lah.
Yeah.
More
Actually this third
matches.
place. But what do you guys, okay, since you're on this topic a bit about this third place, despite finishing, in the third 3 out of 4, right, in the group. I mean, what like is there any that means that the stakes are not so high, right? Even in the third place, to go in for third place, probably one win out of the 3 matches
Yeah.
could be good enough.
In case you didn't know, the last 2 World Cup finalists, one of them were actually the best third
Third
place
best
teams.
team.
Italy and USA 94 and Argentina in 1990. So in a sense that it kind of like gives a little bit of insurance policy for some teams when they finish third lah. But I suppose that the drawback is that it now, I mean, to me, I look at it this way. If it's only winners and runners up, means you can't have any mistakes from the first game itself. Every single match becomes a knockout match, which means to say that if you lose your first game, your second game, you're extremely under pressure to get a result. You have to at least try to get back that 3 points in order to stay on course to finish among the top 2 to progress in the next round. At least that's my take lah.
You don't get that safety net, right? Because the third
Yeah.
place is always like, okay lah, it's still if you lose one, even the second game you don't lose, you draw. I mean, still a chance there.
The Spaniards, I think
I
they
think
lost their
basically
first
she-
match in 2010 World Cup,
Yeah.
Yes.
but they bounced back to eventually leave the cup. So I mean, yes, I agree, totally agree with Sivan, because you need to be to have a real high intensity match in order to win. So you have to play from the word go. You have to deliver. So
Yes.
that's why you need to have a strong team or a depth, an in-depth squad to be able to deliver in such a high intensity and also throughout the entire tournament. With this time it's gonna be slightly more than 1 month.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
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 Under the scorching heat again.
Yeah, so I think the third place should rework this, either standardize this or rework this, because I think it's not fair. Because there might be some good teams we might go, but also some not so good team, just because they ended up third or because of some rules. So I think it should be equal. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Portugal won the Euros
As one of the third
by
place teams.
becoming the third best team.
Yes.
So I think it's really potong steam.
So,
At
but
the expense of
if you
the
want to
French.
if you want it to go to that level, Bala, then we'll need to wait for the World Cup to be 64 teams. Then we'll okay, so
But
FIFA.
except Argentina,
Yeah.
before Argentina, anything else goes. I think not fair.
Malaysia,
Okay, so if
Malaysia will be one
Argentina
of the
in third is
finalists
fine
lah.
lah.
Malaysia will be one of the finalists of the 64 teams.
Hopefully that's what we're aiming for. And of course, if you look at these 32 World Cup teams, I would argue that there is a good diversity, a mixture of good teams. For the first time, you had a team. I mean, not to say for the first time, but basically you had a team from the CONCACAF region in the Caribbean side of it, Jamaica, debuting in the World Cup. And one of the
Yes.
interesting things I looked about Jamaica is that I think they were the team in a way that was giving a template for future lower ranked nations of how to play catch up and be competitive, which is to explore your diaspora, because quite a good number of that Jamaican players, I think, I can't remember who's the name, Dion Burton, a few names that I can recall that were British born Jamaicans were probably not good enough to play for England, but a bit their level of skill is way better to help Jamaica to accelerate their game. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think that there was Robbie Earl as well, right? And,
Robbie Earl,
I think,
yeah.
Robbie Earl was there, and these guys that was playing in the
I think
Premier
Marcus
League.
Gale also.
Yeah, I mean, it's all those. I think it's the crazy gang Wimbledon guys, right? They
Some of them.
part of that.
Some of them.
Yeah. They were part of that, and I think Sivan, you mentioned a good point there. Jamaica and in fact Jamaica, Japan, Croatia, all of them were in the same group, right? With Argentina making that
Argentina.
the debut in this
Three
tournament
debut.
that time.
Argentina had a good World Cup draw against 3 debutants.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Africa, guys? I mean, was there anything memorable? What was the most memorable thing about Africa at this time?
I mean, it's
Nigerians.
Super Eagles, right? Nigeria.
Nigeria lah.
Yeah.
Nigeria beat Spain, right?
First game, Nigeria beat Spain.
Yeah, they beat Spain.
They not only beat Spain, what a way to beat Spain. The Sunday Olise goal. I mean, that was it was a screamer indeed, and that's one of the upsets.
Imagine that Spanish team. They had the likes of Guardiola. They had
Guardiola, Kiko Navarez,
Luis Enrique.
Yep.
Two of the best.
Hierro, yeah.
Two of the best managers
Raul.
at present, lah.
Talking about
Two of
now,
the best
these guys
managers
are now
in England.
managers, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay, what were the considered like the early shocks wave of this World Cup in your opinion? Okay, you started off with Nigeria beating Spain. That was considered a shockwave, even though one would argue that Nigeria, being an Olympic champion, they already came to this World Cup with some kind of reputation, and they already created quite a good impression even in USA '94.
I mean,
Wanna go?
the Norway that how Norway got out of the group, because even Morocco. I mean, talking about Africa, Morocco also. I mean, Morocco was on the field waiting. I mean, hoping to qualify right after they beat Scotland, and they were just like waiting for the Norway Brazil game to be over, and then Norway had a very late penalty, and they won that game, and that was the end of Morocco in that in the tournament. But I think Morocco, for me, I think, Steven, if you remember the first time we watched Morocco live was there was what is this there was an earlier game, and then we went out, we had Teh Tarik, we came back. The Morocco game was I think was the 2 a.m. game or something like that. Morocco and Norway,
yep,
right?
yep.
And that was when Mustafa Aji, right? He just, made a very memorable, I mean,
Good
that game
tournament.
was just awesome, man. I remember that time. Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, Morocco did very well. Unfortunate to go out. Of course, Norway beating Brazil is an upset as
Okay.
well. One of the shocking results there. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I'm thinking that for this coming World Cup, the match between Morocco and Brazil is
Mm-hmm.
it's a very important game. There's a lot of
Yep.
I think from a Morocco side, there's a lot of unsettling scores lah. Because they were
Mm.
kind of hoping for Brazil to do the job for them against Norway so they can qualify. But turns out, as I remember reading a quote in the newspaper, Brazil lost a nation of fans because of that result.
Hey.
So, and another African team, this one I'm going to bring Rizal in because on the sideline, managing this African team is a very familiar face. Someone that just a few years ago was managing our very own national team, Mr. Claude Lehua.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, actually, when he descended upon our shores, he wanted to. His dream was to guide Malaysia to his homeland. But his stint was cut short due to several factors, among them the bribery scandal. And 2 years after arriving, he decided to quit, and there goes our dream. And for him to be taking the spotlight, taking over Cameroon back after many years, it was a dream come true for him to be at least managing a team before his own crowd. He's a very popular figure. He remains a popular figure as a media personality in France. And in fact, I did texted him. I texted him recently, reminding him of some of my articles. I remember his stay here. But you know what happened when he left? One Jamak took over. One Jamak, one Hassan, and again we were drawn with Saudi Arabia in the qualifiers.
yep, yep.
So we managed to hold the Arabs to a scholars draw before losing to them in Jeddah.
Yeah.
And how what do you call coincidental when the Saudi Arabians were drawn with France. Imagine if Le Roy was taking the team. I mean, were able to guide us to the finals, playing against France in Paris or
Wow.
in France. Wow, that would
Yeah.
have been a dream come true.
Mm.
But again, I think Cameroon, they did not go past the group stage, right?
No, they drew with Austria, drew
Yes,
with Chile, but lost
yes.
to Cameroon. But
Chile with
Oh,
the
Salah,
Marcelo Salas.
Marcelo Salas, yeah,
Salza partnership.
Zamorano.
unstoppable lah.
But
Back
let's
then.
let's not forget the goal that scored by Cameroon against Austria. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not too sure whether did you know about the story of how Claudio actually discovered that particular player,
Refresh my memory.
Pierre Nyangka.
Pierre Nyangka,
Yeah, in
right?
Janka.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes,
Njanka.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this episode, you're gonna hear Rizal correcting our French pronunciation quite a lot.
No. Pierre Njanka, I think
Hmm.
he went on to play for Strasbourg, and
Mhm.
Akmal Rizal went to train with him.
Wow.
Because at that time, by then, Claude Leroy was the general manager for Strasbourg, who eventually opened the doors for Akmal to train with Strasbourg in 1999 and 2000. Jangka, what's the story? Refresh my memory.
I mean, what we heard is that sort of like Claude Leroy discovered him playing in some of the local leagues in Cameroon and decided to include him in the team and scored almost quite identical to Haji's goal against Norway, cutting
Yeah, he
through from the left
yeah,
and then he
cut
cut
in and
through.
then the roof of the
Yeah.
net, right, again,
Yeah, so
Austria. Yeah.
it was definitely one of the best goals of that tournament, for sure.
Mm.
So the fact that even though despite it's a 32 nation competition, I mean it didn't dilute the whole tournament. You still had a team like Spain not able to progress out of the group stage. What's your take, guys? I mean, was it more on Spain's side not able to create a balanced team, or is it just that the competition was just getting better or getting ahead of them?
I mean, I think we mentioned about that first game was already a big blow to them, right? When they lost to Nigeria, and of course, Spain was always been the perennial underachievers. You know, when it come, they come with the squad, they come with the reputation, but they always fall short, and this was definitely one of it. The last game, of course, they beat Bulgaria 6-1, but still not enough,
Yeah.
right, to get them through. So it was, of course, disappointing on their front. But put it this way, right? Because what Nigeria did was also another spectacle for the fans out there, and
Mhm.
to enjoy those moments. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And guess who progressed
Yeah, yeah,
alongside
yeah.
Nigeria? Do you guys any idea?
Paraguay.
Seren Jose Luis Chilavet, Paraguay.
Yep, and also seeing a goalkeeper take a free kick somewhere, maybe just outside the penalty box. I think maybe was it ever done in the World Cup finals before? I'm not sure, man. Yeah,
We
before we
still
saw France '98 when Jose Chilavet stepping up to take free kicks,
have not.
right?
I don't think
Yeah,
we've
I mean,
seen a.
I know he does that
No, no.
often in his league, but in the World Cup finals, right? Yeah, doing
Yeah.
that.
Little did we know that in a few seasons, Chilavet and Akmal Rizal will be club teammates.
Oh,
Yeah
Yeah.
lah.
lot of interesting connection
Oh,
between Malaysia
interesting.
and the World
Yes,
Cup. Huh?
yes, yes. Correct,
There
correct,
you
correct,
go. There
correct.
you go. So, of course, let's talk about the emerging stars. I think this one, there's a lot of connection back to Malaysia that we will mention some of the interesting names here. Of course, the first name comes to my mind, a name that if you ever have a coffee session with Jose Luis Chamot, you'll probably have nightmares and shivering to talk about this one particular player, Michael Owen. We all knew Michael Owen. We knew what he was capable or how good he was because he was in Malaysia for the under 20 World Cup. But I mean, what a goal, man. Let's admit it. I know we all are Argentina fans, but still.
Yeah, that goal, I mean, was unstoppable. And I think before that, the game before that against Romania, he showed up there and of course, made his presence. But yeah, the pace and like you say, Chamod probably still having nightmares about that till today when that ends up. But that the goal went to the top of the roof, right? I mean, the moment he was released, that's when he said, okay, I'm here. Michael Owen is here. This is his stage now, and he made himself known in that very night itself. That was a statement, a
Statement
goal.
goal. Huh?
Yeah.
For me, Steven, I think I would like to blame on the referee
Oh,
because I think
okay.
this World Cup, I think they changed the system. I think cannot back tackle. Really put a lot of this kind of interesting things in the World Cup. So everybody's kind of freaked out
Or
to
the rule
tackle.
in a way benefited the attackers more than the defenders, lah.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're a defender, you need to watch the ball, you need to watch your opponent, and you need to watch the space. And now on top of that, cannot tackle. That's so. Yeah, it's the evolution from that World Cup until now, you can see what's basically a defender can't even touch a attacker. So I think
Yep.
for me, that's a bit skeptic, like.
Yeah, because I think this was the
Yeah, I
World Cup
mean,
where that rule was brought in. You tackle from behind, it's a straight red card. And speaking of under 20 World Cup in Malaysia, Rizal, sure, a couple of familiar faces in that French team you can
Yes,
recall.
yes, yes. Trezeguet and Thierry Henry.
Mhm.
And I had the privilege of meeting up with them in Shah Alam. I took
Mm.
pictures with them, yes. And also, but I did not take pictures with the Argentina team. But my colleague did, the late
Mm.
Usiraman.
Okay.
I took
Mm,
his picture, Riquelme signing
mm,
an autograph
Mm.
with Hussein.
oh,
Yes,
Okay, okay.
but it was a wonderful experience meeting up with Trezeguet and Henri in Shah Alam because I knew that they had a great chance of representing the French a year later. They were the guiding lights of the French team under Gerard Houllier. I remember asking the assistant coach, Jacques Crevoisier, Jacques, may I have the opportunity to speak to one or two players? And then I mentioned Trezeguet and Luxan. There was another midfielder. There was a midfielder who later played in Celta Vigo, Peter Luxan.
Oh,
So,
okay,
Oh,
okay,
Peter,
okay.
Peter Lusan.
Peter,
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay.
Peter
yeah, yeah,
Luxan, yeah. Very, very good number six
yeah, yeah,
position playing, yes.
yeah.
And I was at that time attached to the Malay Mail, so I ran a series of articles on the French, but eventually the Argentinians who won the cup lah.
Mhm.
But that because they met Uruguay, they lost to Uruguay through penalties. Nicola Anelka missing that penalty
Mhm.
in the quarterfinals. Yeah,
Oh,
so quite a good generation, and for Henry and Trezeguet to emerge as a attacking threat for the French, and Henry scoring 3 goals, including that wonderful goal against Saudi Arabia after that long ball from Fabian Barthez. You know, yes, and so having watched him sped past the Uruguayan defenders, and especially the captain Martin Rivas, I knew that he had lightning speed, so that it did not come as a surprise for him to have that kind of, or to be scoring that kind of goal lah, outpacing the defenders just like that lah. So he's I mean, Mbappe is the current version of Henry lah. But without, but Bala was mentioning the fact that, you know, there were several change of rules which favor which tend to favor attackers. Cannot be taking away the credit from Owen when he slalom past 3 or 4 defenders before before unleashing that shot,
yeah,
announcing his
yeah.
arrival to the world, like what Alvin said lah. Wonderful for a teenager to be scoring in a big match.
Mm.
Yep.
So, and fair for him to be later on being voted as a Ballon d'Or winner lah.
I just want to ask you, Rizal, were you surprised with Zidane temperament? And I think he was red carded again in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, he
Yep.
did. He was for
I think
stomping on Fuad Anwar, the midfielder.
Mhm.
I realized I think he's becoming he had this thing in the dark side of him
Yes.
where he suddenly have this and it showed during the World Cup.
Yes, but to me,
Yeah.
that is also a hallmark of Zidane's
Zidane,
strength, weakness, and strength lah at the same time.
mm,
But for him to, he was able to return in time for the match against I can't remember, was it the quarterfinals
Paraguay,
against Italy?
Italy.
Against Italy. He missed the match against Paraguay when the French needed a golden goal by
Yep.
Laurent Blanc.
Mm.
And yes, he had that temper, which culminated
Yeah.
with that red card against Materazzi lah.
No, because during
8
because
years
I support
later.
Juventus and he doesn't have that kind of character. I think it's more like even Real Madrid. I don't think we have seen him red carded, but when he play for France, I think he has this dark side. I think whereby he
Probably-
shows sometimes.
Probably extra motivated because playing for country.
Yes,
Yeah.
extra passion and motivation lah.
Mhm.
And also do not
Against
forget that
Materazzi.
he was also under pressure to deliver because he was considered as one of the potential stars in Euro '96.
Mhm.
But he sustained injuries in a what do you call, motor car accident ahead of the Euros. He did. That was the first time Jacquet lining up against. Opposite Yuri Zorkaev.
Mm.
So the two playmakers for the French, there was a real experiment which matured in 1998 lah. Because if you remember, they had a striker called Stefan Givash,
Mhm.
who was
Yep.
basically there as a decoy lah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I think they started force number 9 last time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
number
yeah.
nine,
Force number
force
9.
player lah.
Yeah, yeah. Correct. I think good point, Babala. Even before people thought about false number nine, Stefan Givash was already doing that. Back in the-
Hey, he played for Newcastle, kan?
Yeah, he was at Newcastle.
betul.
I think AC Milan was alright, if I'm not mistaken.
Before I go around asking you guys for other breakout stars, I just thought mentioning another name that was also in that French team. But I thought maybe he was slightly better than Givac, Christopher Dugarry. I remember he scoring in the early
Oh,
stage of the
yeah.
group, but I didn't know why, towards the later
Yes.
stage, he was, left out of the team or didn't start. Any reason behind that result? Or is it just a tactical stroke from Eme Jake?
I think Jacque wanted Givash as the number nine to as actually is was to allow Jorkaeff and Zidane to make inroads into the opponent's box.
Mm-hmm.
Dugari was a different kind of a profile of player, but quite a potent threat. I think he scored against South Africa, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but Givash did not score a single goal,
Yeah.
but he
So
played
it's
on the
purely
minor.
tactical lah,
Yeah,
right? If you look at the result, pure
purely
tactical lah.
tactical.
Because Dugari means he wants to score, right? So Givash maybe the opposite lah. So
All right, guys. Any other breakout stars? Go. I'll start with you, Bala. Try not to name
Well,
Batista
I
again.
think I think he was superstar. But I think we need to talk about our superstars as well. I think Ortega, I think able to make shine in the game.
Mhm.
I think he became Madonna here. And so Veron, I think, but I think this was a tournament that he made it great. And I think England team was, I think David Beckham,
Yep.
best friend.
Was Beckham not remembered for that on the red card? The
I
match
think the
against
referee is a
Argentina.
bit low. To be
Actually-
frank, of course, during that time I feel very happy lah. But come think about it, I think the referee is I think he should give yellow card. I think not red card.
Okay.
Vilfort, right?
Beckham, I
Kim
guess.
Vilfort.
Kim Vilfort.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my, before I pass to you, Elvin, on the breakout stars, because I wanted to tap into Rizal here, because we all, as you can realize that we always try to find in every World Cup that connection with Malaysia. And there is also one in this particular game, because the linesman is none other than a Malaysian linesman itself, right, Rizal? I mean,
Yeah.
have you ever, do you had a chance like to speak to him, to get to know about the game and all that in your journalist career?
Yes. We did. In fact, it became a topic of discussion ahead of the tournament when the late captain Abdul Hamid, Halim Hamid,
Mm-hmm.
was picked to be among the linesmen. At that time, remember, it was a linesman and referee. No,
Yep.
not assistant referees and a group of assistant referees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a big honor for FAM to be able to send a representative in that area. So it was, but I can't remember which match was he involved in officiating, Siwan?
I'm not too sure about officiating, but I know for a fact that he was definitely the linesman which spotted the infringement involving Diego Simeone and David Beckham.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
That's
So
huge significant, huh?
that's the thing.
Significance.
That's the thing. A Malaysian
Make impact,
linesman.
make impact.
And just to add to that,
Hmm.
Datuk Sri Winsor John was the one who alerted the official. Well, that was Elizondo, I think, through the
Horacio Elizondo.
TV for on that Zidane headbutt on Materazzi, because he was the general coordinator in Berlin for the final in 2006.
Okay.
So also
So
another
that-
nation,
So there you have
another
it,
nation behind
Malaysians.
behind the scenes
Malaysia's again having behind the scenes of all these
incidents.
huge
Stars,
red card
superstars.
incidents in World Cups. Yeah.
Was this
Okay.
the only time that we had a Malaysian official in a World Cup, or did we had previously before this, or even the future?
Oh yes, we did. The first one was the late Datuk Peter Velapan. He was involved in several World Cups. So, I think he was in 1982 in Spain, also 1986 in Mexico, and
Mm-hmm.
again 1990 in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was basically the man in charge of the whole tournament when South Korea and Japan co-hosted the World Cup in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And the late Datuk Sri Paul Moni Samuel also was a highly respected general coordinator and match commissioner and followed by Datuk Sri Winston John. So we
Mm-hmm.
had several high profile. They were behind the scenes, but highly regarded and held in high esteem by their counterparts overseas.
Okay. So Elwin, one more breakout star man from you.
I think for me, one memorable, I would say guy that left another lasting impression in that World Cup is Luis Hernandez lah from Mexico, the El
Mm.
Matador. So, when he was there, he came in also, he finished very well. He was very sharp on the ball. And, of course, together with him and his teammate, Cautemak Blanco, he introduced the Blanco bounce, right, to the world during that
Uh,
during that World Cup also. When you're cornered, there's always a way out, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is
Nobody does that anymore.
yeah,
That Blanco bounce
Yeah.
tak
yeah,
ada.
I think never attempted
kena,
again lah.
kena kangkang.
But
yeah.
if you look at, I mean, you mentioned Hernandez, Cuauhtemoc Blanco, we talked about Dugari, Batistuta, and all that. I would say that this World Cup there's an area good of real potential top class strikers. You had Davos Suker, you had Patrick Kluivert,
Yeah,
all that.
sure.
Yeah, so there's quite a very good mix of top quality number nines lah.
Yeah, and even I think if talk about Asian stars, I think that's also for Hidetoshi Nakata, right? At that time, really, getting into the World Cup, and of course Japan went out, but for him, for his presence to be there, and then also earning a move to Serie A after that, right?
Perugia.
Perugia,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perugia.
Okay, let's talk about the ones that fell short. I'm gonna start with you, Bala.
Argentina lah.
I think bisa Argentina. I think it was in Japan. I would say Japan. Bisa Argentina lah. Because I think Japan started with
be fair lah. Japan is just a debut lah.
Debutant lah, Bala.
Come on, lah.
But I think the first game they came with they lost 1-0 to Argentina, right? So I thought they have some kind of sensitivity. So I thought they can go far in the easy relative because it's so Croatia and also the team was full. I forgot.
Jamaica.
Japan, and Jamaica. So I thought but for a big nation, I think of course Argentina and England. But of course Argentina beat England. So and Spain obviously because I think they had one of the dream team before prior to 2010. I think that was a Raul team. So yeah, I think that was a shocker as well. How about you, Alvin?
Germany. I mean, of course, Germany. I mean, when they lost to Croatia, I think, of course, the Croatia team, also being a debutant in the World Cup, but also making a very, a good run all the way there, and coming off. The what used to be Yugoslavia right before and part of the Yugoslav team and completely decimating Germany in the quarterfinals 3-0 and always remember this goal from Robert Jani right so I mean that attacking when it comes to those wing backs attacking wing backs I mean I think this World Cup was also another that attacking wing back role of course Brazil had Roberto Carlos and Cafu going down the flanks, of course, and for Croatia was Robert Jani. Yeah.
Yep. This was Germany. Pretty much. I mean, not much has changed since 1990. Quite a lot of the names that were there in that final in 1990 are still playing in this German team.
Yeah.
And I think they were missing Matthias Sammer through injury, but as you can see, it's a very old team, very aging side, and one that will trigger German football in such a big way to look into revamping their whole system that will eventually give birth to the team that beat Argentina in the 2014 World Cup lah. Yeah. Any other teams, Rizal, that you felt like didn't reach their potential mark, fell short, or could have did more?
I think you guys have mentioned all the necessary ni lah. Germany going into the tournament as the European champions. Spain, they were best described as emotional team lah. Way before the golden generation. The decades of after winning the Euros in 2008. But they learned how to cope with defeat and to emerge as a unbeatable and invisible team with the tiki-taka concept later lah. But they had that, like Alvin said just now, they were perennial underachievers who then I think they learned from their mistakes and and they created a concept that lasted for many years lah. That a winning formula that can never be emulated by any other nations lah. Yep.
Okay.
I think we also need to look into Colombia also. I think they are so disappointed with only one win. I think in Tunisia,
Okay.
they lost to England and Romania.
Maybe
But
for
it-
Colombia, the expectation, right, because of what happened in 1990 and then 94, and they came in with that expectation as well. Yeah.
One of the what if I can think of from this World Cup, because Croatia went all the way to the semi-final, finishing third in the overall tournament, right?
Yeah.
But you also had Yugoslavia, who, after years of sanction, finally coming back and even made it out of the group stage to the round of 16. They pushed the Netherlands all the way to the last, I think it was a last-minute goal from Edgar Davids.
Mhm.
I mean, what would you say that if Yugoslavia had stayed together with all these two groups of players, would that make a difference? Would they be able to knock France out, Riza, maybe in the semi-final and win the World Cup?
I mean, way back in the 80s and 90s, they were considered as the Brazilians of Europe.
Mm,
Yugoslavia as a whole.
mhm.
Back there when they became fragmented force. It diluted their overall strength lah. But it created a larger pool of stars and nations that can offer a threat to the established order. So, but I think that's a good question. That's why. Malaysia, we have a good relationship with Croatia and the old Yugoslavian bloc. Because we knew all along, we knew they had that steep, they are also steep in tradition, stick together as a nation. They would have been they would have posed a greater threat to the French. But as you know, Turam had other ideas lah. Turam
He chose the best time to really, show up lah that time. Yeah.
but
Mystery, mystery. Still a
his son
mystery.
needs to learn how to score lah, in the World Cup lah. Inter Milan, he's a proven player, but in a World Cup, Marcus Thuram must learn how to score lah.
Maybe Marcus Thuram wants to play the Stefan Guivac role in this World Cup.
The whose role?
Stefan Guivac role in this World Cup.
No
Force
way
the
lah.
Bandai.
And that is also another, again, Elvin, you just mentioned the wingback role.
Mm.
I mean, we know for a fact, Lilian Thuram, for France, he plays in a wingback role, even though I think for Juventus or Parma, he's more of a centre-back player.
Centre back, yes.
So France, right, so we have to talk about, at the end of the day, they are the eventual World Cup winner. So maybe, Rizal, you can take us through, like, after that moment you mentioned in the previous episode, the David Ginola moment against Bulgaria and all that. What was the momentum or the things that happened that took place in these 4 years that built this squad for France 98?
When Jacquet took over in early 1994, and then they tasted victory against Italy in a friendly, he was reliant upon Jean-Pierre Papin, Ginola, and Cantona. But all three were missing. Within 4 years, all three were missing from that setup because he had identified Djorkaeff and Zidane as two of his core players with real defensive formation that had the experienced Marcel Desailly, who suffered that devastating defeat in 1983. Alongside Laurent Blanc, midfielder converted into a sweeper, and he knew that he had a good, solid foundation as a team that can go far. The problem was the press never had faith in Jacquet, including L'Equipe. If you remember, they had a real fight between Jacquet and L'Equipe. L'Equipe was saying that his team was not good enough and Jacquet was not good enough to be the coach. But he delivered the World Cup and he proved everyone wrong by identifying a completely different team that he introduced in 1986. They went as far as the semi-finals before losing to the Dutch. No thanks to a miss from Renald Pedros, if you remember, the left
I remember.
winger. Yep. And for this team to mature into a winning squad, it was molded and he had a different concept. If you remember, he introduced the Christmas tree strategy. where they had four in the back line, being shielded by three defensive midfielders, and then
Two and then one.
Djorkaeff and Zidane as the two attacking midfielders, supplying so-called passes lah to Givash as the decoy.
Yeah, so the three defensive midfielder is Deschamps,
Christian Caribou, I think.
Petty
But-
and was it
Petit and
Vieira?
Vieira.
Vieira?
But actually that 4-3-2-1 formation was used or fully utilized against Brazil in the final. Carambeu was playing with Thuram on the right side. Then he had Deschamps in the center and Petit on the left, combining with Lizarazu. So they had such a, I mean, they had when in while defending, they had a solid 6 players defending against El Fenomeno, you know. While when they were attacking, they had basically 2 lah, Zidane and Djorkaeff without Givash.
Okay.
But for the French, in 4 years, Jacquet managed to mold a winning side was quite remarkable because he had to prove his critics wrong. And most were, I mean, I think even the French Federation did not have fullest faith in the team, but he did deliver.
Was there any pressure from the media or from any critics to call up Eric Cantona during those few years before Cantona retired?
I think there were some calls for Cantona to be recalled. But as you know, I think Cantona missed the 1996 Euros. He was not selected because by then, you remember that Kung Fu incident against Matthew Simmons in 1995, he was banned. So then Cantona had lost an opportunity to impress or to cement his place in the French side. At the same time, a new star was emerging, you know, Zidane after making his debut in 1994, emerging as a real leader of the team, as the offensive threat, and Jacquet had to make that choice lah. So because by the time it was made easier when Cantona retired in 1997. Right, before what the Tournoi de France, the tournament best remembered for Roberto Carlos free kick.
Yes,
against the French.
That free kick, yeah.
A tournament which England won, by the way.
I do remember that lah.
Something rarely happens.
Alan Shearer scoring.
I think England beat France, then they beat Italy.
Yeah, they did.
But they lost to Brazil. Because by then, pretty much the tournaments, they already wrapped 6 points. Yeah. Elway, I'm going to pull you in on this one because I know for a fact that a big part of the reason you became a Man United fan is because of Cantona. What is your feeling of not able to see him or at least have a part in this French team that will go on to lift the World Cup?
Actually, for me, I mean, Eric Cantona, yeah, of course, for a Man United fan, yeah, it's I mean, he was like the ultimate guy for us at that time. But when it came to World Cup, my alliance has always been for Argentina, and so and not seeing Cantona in the World Cup was not something surprising for me. But also Cantona was always he wasn't I would say an established guy in that French team to throughout the years. He wasn't like the first name on the list for any manager. It was a very in and out thing for him. So yeah, there was not much of I would say difference or disappointment at that time lah.
In case you guys not aware about this, because I was hearing this in a podcast by this very famous journalist called Simon Cooper, and a podcast called Heroes and Football. So on the episode about Eric Cantona, apparently the Aimé Jacquet did visit Cantona in Old Trafford in early 96 with the proposition that, I already have Zidane as my number 10, which used to be Cantona's role. How about if you were to play as my number 9? But he kind of declined the offer because I think he wanted to be the creative force behind the team rather than the one that is going to finish whatever that Zidane will create for him lah.
He didn't want the Givash role lah. Put it this way. I think I'll suppose Stefan Givash, we keep talking about him. We need to call him on the podcast lah one day.
I don't know, Rizal. Maybe you can help us one day.
Givash?
No.
I don't know where he is now. But interesting anecdote. That one, Seven.
Mhm.
Cooper, I think he wrote a book on the statistics. Simon
Mm.
Cooper,
Yeah, he wrote a book on the statistics.
Soccernomics. Was it
Soccernom
Soccernomics? Soccernomics.
Soccernomics,
Yes.
yeah. And
Yes.
also the other famous book is called Football Against the Enemy, which
But that as Alvin is fully aware lah. Cantona was, I mean, he could play as a number 9 or a number 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he knew that having to keep pace with the younger set of players, because at the time he was already 32. I
mm,
mean, in 98 he would have been 32. Yeah.
yep.
And Zidane was 6 years younger.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh,
26.
26. He was 26.
Mm.
So because Jacquet had managed to mold entirely different generation with a new philosophy
Yeah.
and different set of what do you call mentality. And with I think Cantona did not play 96
No, he did not play.
Euro he did not play.
He did not
No,
play.
he was not
Papan
there.
was also missing.
Papa
So
was missing.
by then he had already identified
Also,
his
Ginola was missing.
Ginola was also, yes. That's why.
Despite the fact that France had, I think, 1 or 2 games in St. James Park in that Euro.
Yes. That's a real pity,
Mhm.
for the Tun Army. But so I in the end Jacquet was fully vindicated for having what do you call excluded three big names from his team.
So, guys, let's talk about defining matches. Of course, I need to bring this game, like guys, even though it ended with sadness for the three of us. Argentina versus Netherlands. I mean, in today's terminology, we call this as football heritage. Two teams with a huge amount of history, different style of play, philosophy, mentality. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to ask the two of you guys. The moment Roberto Ayola became a stuff of meme thanks to a superb, beautiful move by the non-flying Dutchman, Dennis Bergkamp. What,
Non
what,
flying.
what was your thing going inside your mind at the time, guys?
I mean that goal until now, it is one of the top one of the best World Cup goals. Like if you were to say, maybe put it in the top 10, the way he finished it, and at that moment, and at that very late, last minute, and that iconic commentary by that Dutch commentator who just kept screaming Bergkamp, kept getting louder. It didn't stop, right? But that whole incident, I think we need to rewind back that incident again. There was a headbutt incident from I think Ortega to was it
Ortega,
Frank de Boer,
Eric
Frank de
Ortega.
Boer, right? That
He
that
headbutted
ended up having that free
Van
kick,
der
and
Sar.
then the whole team was a bit like
And
disorientated.
don't forget,
Yeah.
and don't forget before that also Diego Simeone did the same thing with another Dutch player.
Jan Wouters.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
uh,
all that culminated that moment, I would say, when Dennis Bergkamp, of course, finished off that goal, and the rest is history, lah. I mean, if you were to go out with that kind of goal, okay, like we'll give it to
Yeah.
them, lah, right? And
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, nothing
Yeah.
to be ashamed of, losing
Yeah,
to such a wonderful and iconic goal. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
because despite having good generation, that Argentina team, but losing to the
Yeah.
Dutch with that kind of in that manner, nothing to
Yeah.
be ashamed of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
but don't forget, I think Batistuta I think hit the bar.
Yeah, the goalpost shaking.
Yes.
I mean,
That,
all
I think that was the. Also, as I say, sometimes football is a very cruel game. So
yeah, but all
Yeah.
these things
one
happen, lah.
moment
So
of
like, yeah. So Izzat,
so I think
you mentioned earlier about shedding tears, right?
Yep.
When something happened in the front. So it always happens to us with Argentina, lah. So this is a tear shed. One of those tear shed moments, and you know what happens after that? You'll tell, okay lah, forget about the World Cup. We just don't want to watch it anymore. We just want to take a break for a while, and all that, because
But
Argentina
then
went out.
4 years ago, you guys were jumping for joy, lah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We waited, lah. We had to wait a long time. But
Of course.
that was always, during the 90s, early 2000s. It's always been that time, man.
But that's how football works, lah.
Yep, exactly.
One day you might be shedding tears,
Yeah.
Then
One-
come the time when you celebrate with real joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ecstasy lah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course the Netherlands won that game and ended up playing Brazil in the semi-final. That was another classic affair. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was kind of hoping the Netherlands to actually win that game.
Beat Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Brazil being an Argentina rival, and if they were to go to the final, they're going to have a shot at winning a fifth World Cup, which will create a little bit of catch up for a lot of countries. But at the same time, I think that the Netherlands I think they've contributed more to football than any other nation in the history of the game. Tactical, in terms of ideas, in terms of the possibility of how to play the football. But somehow or other, I think they never reap those reward for themselves. Don't you guys agree with that? Maybe anybody want to take on this?
Netherlands just two words, right? Netherlands always know how to press a self-destruct button, right? Always when it comes to World Cup, they find a way to self-destruct. There's I mean, of course, but that was penalties. Penalties you can't. It's really a 50-50 chance really. But yeah, that's all I can say about Netherlands lah. Like what you say, they contributed a lot and all that. But when it matters the most, yeah, they fall short.
I think they find it a struggle to form the collective because they are more like a team of individuals trying to play as a team. And with that, that is difficult to manage the dressing room, the Dutch, and from the days of Johan Cruyff and in Ajax, where they even voted among the players who to be the captain, So that kind of like what Alvin said, self-destruct button is always at their disposal, and they always choose to tekan the button lah.
Okay.
So I agree that since Rinus Michels, Johan Cruyff, they contributed a lot to football that I mean shape I think 2 or 3 generations of footballers in terms of tactical innovation lah.
But I feel that they are just unlucky purely because we see, I think they lost by penalties, they entered a few times World Cup final, even recently 2010. Thing is, I think they just never had extra. I think they wasn't nearly beat Argentina also in the last World Cup.
Yep.
I think Van der Sar did nothing in 1998 World Cup also against Brazil. Despite such a towering figure, so I think they just plain luck.
And another quarterfinal, Bala, Italy versus France, also football heritage. For me, there's two lasting image of that game. One is Roberto Baggio's, how do I say, what's the correct word? Redemption, because he stepped up to take a penalty and he scored. The other was the image of the two names that we talked about earlier, Trezeguet and Thierry Henry. I think one of them was behind covering the head in another guy's shirt. These are my two lasting memories. But
I think after Holland, I think Italy is another team, but they have a better luck in the World Cup. So I feel the game, especially in the 1998 World Cup, I think they did well. Pushed, I think, France to the edge. I think initially France missed. Then when the second back-to-back penalty, I think this one missed. I can't remember who, but I think he missed. Then the last, of course, Luigi Biagio. But I think I see the home crowd gave France an edge. But once again, I think it was a fair game, battled by two greats. But the only thing I think still end of the day, pity need to be determined by.
Yeah, it was a defining moment for the French. You know why? Then they had that self-belief and they gained the confidence. They knew that this would be the best chance for them to win the cup. Because having beaten Italy was a huge moral booster for them. They knew, having disposed of one of the greats in world football, they knew the cup was I mean, almost for the taking lah.
Were you confident after the quarterfinal result? Were you confident that this is France World Cup already?
No, you know, football, you can never, football is love for its unpredictability lah, and you can never be sure of anything.
Yep.
Anything is possible. but when they playing against Croatia also, I was when Davos Suker scored the opening goal, and again the pleasant surprise of Thuram scoring 2 goals.
The only 2 goals in his career.
I think that's
the only 2 goals. Yeah.
And somehow with both foot, right? The second one was with the left foot somehow, which is very
Yes.
he cut in and he shot with his
Right
left
foot.
foot.
With his left foot, yes.
Yeah. So Thuram with left foot, so it's also very okay. And the goal somehow with the left foot. Wow. Okay.
Yep. Okay, guys, let's talk about the final. I mean, we're gonna focus on Brazil here. Riza mentioned about unpredictability. I think this is one final that, the starting 11 itself became very unpredictable, especially on the Brazil side. There were questions about Ronaldo was there, then he wasn't, he was there, he wasn't. But do you guys think that itself already kind of like cost half of the game for them when they were not decided of who is going to take onto the field?
I think I would comment this one because I was watching recently Ronaldo's. Gary Lineker was having interview with Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking about 98. What happened? Is it Nike's pressure or is it FIFA pressure? They cannot play.
Mm-hmm.
He did admit that he went through this seizure kind of thing after he had a meal. But apparently he wanted to play in the 98 World Cup final because it's a World Cup final and he feel fit, he feel happy. So maybe this for the fans, whoever thinking that it was a fix. I think basically he wanted to really badly want to play. I think he even explained this in Brazil parliamentary. So to explain to the Brazil parliamentary that he need to play. But also I would like highlight, you guys realize, right? We have a notable like Zidane, Ronaldo, Cantona never made it to World Cup, Ginola. But I think another remarkable figure never made it to World Cup was Romario. So he was a 94 star, remember? And then he was, because I think issue with Zagallo, he never made it to World Cup. I think if Romario was in the squad, I think it would be a game changer, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, he's a big game guy. He could have eased off the pressure on Ronaldo a little bit, and probably gave France a little bit more trouble because
I think it's better than Bebeto. I think compared Bebeto Romario, I think he would have made a different, more impact.
By halftime, it was 2-0, 2 goals by Zidane. So, Rizal, I mean, you don't have, we know what is it like going into a halftime 2-0 lead. I mean, the last World Cup taught us that, it ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
But what was it like for you at that time in 98?
Well, I was really surprised when Zidane scored of a corner. And then with two headers is a rarity from Zidane. But I remember he's scoring through a header on his debut in against Czechoslovakia, I think. In August 1994. But for him to be scoring two successive headers, wow! I mean, I was already celebrating by halftime. Despite the unpredictability of football. Yes, by then I knew that it was already signed, sealed, and delivered the cup. Because we knew that Brazil was in a state of disarray. I think Ronaldo, in hindsight, should have been left out. Should have been omitted because that really affected the team's morale from the beginning. You could see that they were not totally focused, and Ronaldo was not his self. Was not his true self. He was missing. I mean, there was a real opportunity, but he shot straight to Bates. There was an opportunity for him to score. But Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo, would have scored that. Yeah, to me it was maybe Mario Zagallo made a mistake but I think he was in a dilemma. If he were to omit Ronaldo and maybe later on for him to come as a sub from the bench, he did not want to take that risk, lah. After all, Ronaldo was on song. He was on a good run of form. But it was a pity that Ronaldo was not his true self, lah. Otherwise, it would have been a greater final and a more competitive and balanced game, lah.
But then the entire Brazil team was sleeping, right? You realize?
Sleeping.
Basically, the entire Brazil team went sleeping, right?
Yeah. No, because I think they were really affected by that Ronaldo seizure.
Yeah, but you see the thing with the Ronaldo thing is there will be a lot of what ifs. If he didn't start and they lost, then the what ifs will keep going on, and that will be probably even worse for them to deal with, right? So he just played him on, and it is what it is, lah. It panned out that way.
But you guys realize I'm not in the midfield. France midfield, I think made a lot of different. Deschamps, Patrick Vieira, and Emmanuel Petit. I think they really solidified the entire with Marcel Desailly marshalling the defense and Laurent Blanc. I think that's also the tactical part. I think people have forgotten defensive virtues they had. Brazil, but I think these four fellas have really destroyed Brazil.
As I mentioned earlier, that's why instead of Vieira, Jacquet fielded Karamba to help Thuram. So whenever Thuram went up, he would be covering that right back area. So they had this defensive solidity, and the four who formed the back line. Thuram on the right, Lizarazu on the left, Dusai and Blanc. But in the final, it was Leboeuf because Blanc got
Leboeuf,
sent
Leboeuf.
off against Croatia, remember?
Hmm.
For that
correct.
against Slaven Bilic.
Mhm.
But that was undeserving lah
Mm.
for Le President to miss the final.
Mhm.
But eventually, when they won, okay lah, you know. But they had this defensive solidity that other teams lack, you know. So
Yeah.
that was a real advantage for the French, despite Dusai being sent off late in the second half.
Okay, we forgot the fact that France played with 10 men, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before the Petit goal also. The Petit goal came very late, right? The third goal
Yes.
Yeah.
to really
Yeah.
icing on the cake lah too.
Yeah.
For Arsenal fans, they will remember lah, because I remember there was a Daily Mail report saying the Arsenal duo combined for that goal for the world that lifted the World Cup.
Oh, Vieira to
Oh,
Petit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vieira to Pity.
Mhm. Truly, it was a French summer, lah. France winning the World Cup and Arsenal inspired French winning the Premier League title, lah.
Yes.
So let's wrap it up. So I want to ask Rizal, in terms of legacy, what would be the biggest legacy of France 98?
I think Jacquet introduced a different concept, but he created the narrative. Or I mean, by winning the cup, he was telling the whole world that you can create a balanced team that had creativity combined with defensive solidity. I mean that in terms of tactical innovation as a legacy for the World Cup lah.
Mhm.
And in terms of organization and in terms of commercial success, the 32, 32 teams playing in the finals was a real major shift in FIFA punya decision tu. Very very a major decision that has changed the landscape of world football.
Mhm.
I think it shaped a real success in terms of spectacle and also performance lah.
And I think it's also a fitting end to the tournament in that millennium, because the World Cup, the brainchild behind the World Cup was a Frenchman, Jules Rimet. The first goal scored in the World Cup in 1930 was scored by a Frenchman. So France lifting the World Cup with the final goal scored by Petit, I think it completes it's a good closure lah to French football's legacy lah.
Nice sentiment lah.
What about you guys? I mean, what do you take from this World Cup as a whole?
I mean, I think with the 32 team setup, much bigger, World Cup and more competitive group stages without the third place, going through where that is in terms of, of course, entertainment value. And also competitiveness, but for me, another thing that I will always remember about France '98 is the World Cup song by Carnival de Paris from Dario G. So it's not the Ricky Martin song. No, people talk about France '98. No. For me, it's not the Ricky Martin song. It's this Carnival de Paris Dario G song. For me, is still one of the best World Cup song ever, because the way the whole song was mixed, you get the Scottish bagpipe, you get the drums, the African drum. It is just an epic song, man. And until today, it's still in my head and will always be. So far, I cannot find any World Cup song better than this lah. Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
that's
a
France
good point lah,
98.
Alvin.
Yeah.
That's a good point lah.
You go back and listen to that song again, bro. Look at me.
Yeah. I will.
Okay, Bala, just to wrap it up, maybe on a more personal level, like why this World Cup, even though it wasn't the best World Cup for Argentina, we didn't win it, but from a friendship point of view, why is such a very important World Cup?
For me, basically, I think the nostalgia for us, three of us coming as friends, in 18 years old and going through ups and downs of life, of teenage life, and seeing Argentina as part of escape clause during that era. So I think that connected all of us, the dots, and until now, with God's blessing, I think we are still having this friendship. I think it's fated lah, so for all of us to meet up and meeting great person like Rizal along the way for this wonderful journey. I think that will be very memorable for me, because I think previously, even it was a separate this World Cup. At least for 3 hours was kind of a connection.
All three of us came together lah, basically.
Yeah, because this was the
during
World
that
Cup.
tournament?
Yeah. During that time, because that time we were all 18, so just finished school, and that time got driving license, pinjam, borrow father's car, go here, go there. So basically, it was the World Cup. We can say the World Cup of freedom lah, where we were basically free to do our own stuff.
You guys are 1 year younger than Michael Owen lah.
Yeah, true.
Uh,
At that time,
Absolutely true. Yeah.
you could relate to a teenage sensation lah at that time, eh?
True, true,
yeah.
true.
And also, I also don't forget. Also, I think that time, remember the EA Sports? I think they're just launching on the football games. I think
Yes,
that was
yes.
the start. That was an era. I think Championship Manager, all this coming up. I think
It
so.
was Championship Manager and the FIFA, right? All the
Yeah,
FIFA
Yeah.
98 and
CM,
those
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I think now it's exploded to another level. But I think that was a starting point.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in a way, this World Cup was opening a whole new chapter like in football as a whole. So before we end, want to say any last word from yourself, Rizal? Thank you. Thank you for coming, joining us. But we really had to have you on this episode. We can see the joy, the blushes, in the
Yeah,
face.
this
This
episode
is what
for
you
you
meant.
lah,
Yeah,
Rizal.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss France 98. You know I'm obsessed with the French, but now I'm mature enough to accept defeat lah, like the way they did in 2022.
Hmm.
You know, but I had fun over the two episodes. Thank you, Seven, Bala, and Alvin for the opportunity. I look forward to more discussions lah after this.
We'll bring you on board whenever there's something interesting to talk
All
about.
right.
Definitely. Okay.
All the best to you guys, huh?
Thank you
Thanks,
so
man.
much. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Rizal.
much.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it, guys. We will end this week's episode of the Bola Bola Show. Next up, of course, the World Cup finally comes to Asia. So check out for that. Bye.